So in this video, I'm going to be making a wax, or not a wax, a plastic mock-up which could potentially be glued into a patient's mouth so that they can see what it looks like. We have the teeth underneath, and the bite had previously been opened by a few millimeters. So what we'll do, the first thing we're going to do, make sure that the upper arch is selected. We're going to click on the model and we're going to select object to map to. Then what we're going to do is we're going to select the upper arch and we're going to view the heat map. And we've discussed this in our tutorial, how to check for thin areas and how to modify them. We can, for example, go to the sculpt toggle and we can then thicken it up if we like to. That's one way of doing it. And go back to the heat map and you'll see it's not red anymore because we've addressed that thin spot. Now it takes a bit of time because there's a lot of mesh to consider. Okay, so this is looking good. I'm going to exit and let's do the same for the lower. So the lower, we're going to hide the upper section. Map, select object to map to, select the teeth and view the heat map. Make sure these are all selected, and we can see we're a little bit thin. And now instead of sculpting, I will go into edit mode to show how this works. And we're going to select a vertice or a few vertices if you like. And then what we can do is we can click on pull 0.5. That pulls it out by exactly 0.5 millimeters. Likewise, we can push it in by 0.5 millimeters. So, okay, and then we're going to go back to the heat map. And we know now that that spot will be thick enough. Okay. Likewise, over here, if we wanted to, we can go into sculpt. We've got a shortcut Control Shift. So if you click Control Shift on the keyboard, it'll do exactly the same thing. It toggles in and out of the sculpt and heat map mode. Alright, with that, having done that, and I'm sort of okay with the thickness, so there's no guarantee that these will always print because sometimes they can be extremely thin, so just keep that in mind. The next step, what I want to do is we want to duplicate these because we don't want to destroy our hard work. So I'm going to click on this and we're going to go into the cutting tools. Make sure the teeth are selected. Then we're going to click duplicate teeth, and that will put a duplication into a duplicates folder here. Okay, so we can always refer back to our teeth because we're going to remesh these teeth and there's no going back after this. So we can do one section, or we can do one at a time, or we can do the entire arch. So if you wanted to do one at a time, you need to separate these teeth, but it's quite a long procedure to do all. So I would probably say if we can do them in sections, that would be better. So we're going to voxel remesh these teeth. Now its default is set to 0.1, which is a little bit fine. We can probably do it at 0.22. Let's try 0.2 millimeters, and we're going to apply that. Okay. So everything's 0.2 millimeters would then join up. If you do it finer, sometimes they may not all join up. So we'll leave it at 0.2 millimeters and we're going to click on apply. So once that has been remeshed, it's just a simple Boolean cut. So what we're going to do is we're going to offset this model because we need a little bit of an offset, otherwise it may not fit. So we're going to select this, we're going to select the teeth, and that's the object being cut. And then what we're going to do is we're going to select the other one, select object making cut, and that will duplicate the model, and it'll give it an offset of 0.1. Now that may be a little bit much, 0.1. I will just set this to 0.05. Okay, and then we're going to apply that, and then that blue model gets used as a cutting tool. So it's going to remesh. Again, it's a very fine mesh, and it's set it fine because with smaller objects you need a finer mesh, but with a big model like that, I would probably say 0.2 would be sufficient for as far as detail is concerned. We're going to remesh this. Now note that we've step 1 we've remeshed the arch. Step 2 is we've made an offset model and we've remeshed that as one, and then we're going to click on apply cut. This would now have made a cut, and it would have also created a slight offset between the model and the print. So if I hide this and I go into Alt B, cross section, you will then see that there may be a very small, it's a very tiny little bit of an offset if we look very closely here. Tiny offset, and that's what we are looking for. Let us do the bottom quickly, and this is exactly the same, but it's a good repetition. So first we're going to duplicate the teeth so that we've got something to refer back to. Then we're going to voxel remesh these teeth, and note they're going to join up, and all of the intersections that used to exist no longer exist. But I'm going to set this to 0.2. Okay, so this is up to you how fine you want this to be. Apply, and we're going to do, this is going to be our object being cut, and then we're going to select object making the cut. Okay, so, and that again will behind the scenes duplicate this model. It will give it an offset. We're going to put 0.05, and then we're going to apply this. It's going to remesh this blue object, and it will use the blue object for a cutting tool to cut our fitting surface of our teeth. Okay, I'm going to give this a voxel remesh of 0.2. We don't need it that fine, and then remesh that. And then finally we're going to apply this. So we're going to be using the bottom menu in this one. So provided that your print is accurate enough, then we will then be left with something to glue on top of the teeth. And we leave this exactly the way it is. Now in this case we have not cut in the occlusion with the articulator. We could have done this first, but we're going to leave it at that, and we've got our try-in mock-up that we could potentially put into a person's mouth.